Good morning. You're listening to Power Talks, where talk is real, truth is in the talk, and there is power in truth. And Melody's back to tap dance with us. Melody, I'm so glad to have you back. We missed you yesterday.
Oh, well, that's probably a little debatable, but it's great to be here. I did miss you, and
we missed you.
Everyone who tunes in to Power Talks each and every morning. So we do so appreciate you, and it's just another day, another crazy day, and it's
every day is crazy.
Every day is crazy anymore. I told you it was going to be active and volatile.
You said you did. You were right. You predicted it right. Too bad we didn't lay money down on that.
And the sad thing about it is I don't think it's going to ever be
calm down.
No, but I don't know if that's good, bad, doesn't matter, but
maybe this chaos is coming before whatever is going to happen to right the wrongs of the world. To right the wrongs.
Oh. I'm not sure what's ruffling everyone's feathers and so forth. Well, we do know what's ruffling people's feathers.
What doesn't ruffle their feathers?
Oh, I know it. And it is it's just another day in the crazy neighborhood. And and so what do you have for us today? How are we going to get started today? And I think I've lost Beth again. We've been having issues.
There you
are. We're having issues.
We are. We're going to have to tell our producer that Skype is not our friend this morning, I don't think. Anyway, what I said was we're not on Sesame Street anymore, apparently. So it's craziness in the neighborhood, as you said.
Yes, it is.
What do you want to talk about today? I talked all day yesterday without you.
You did?
Yeah. It's your turn to talk.
For a whole hour?
I did. Oh. Well, I had help. I had a few callers. I had help. But,
well, here's it's we hear how great the economy is, and we've had all those retail stores that have been closing left and right, and it doesn't seem to filter through into the jobs report and so forth. Well, I'm not so sure if this one can be ignored. We have Toys R Us. They're planning to close all U.S. stores. 33,000 jobs at risk. They have 885 stores in its U.S. chain, 33,000 jobs, all because they failed to reach a deal restructure to restructure billions of dollars in debt. And, of course, we talked about Toys R Us last year, September, October, November, around that time, where they were ready to restructure, which is bankruptcy. And
I was going to say, didn't they take a huge loan?
Yeah, over $2 billion to keep them through the Christmas holidays. And, which just absolutely amazed me. Who'd be stupid enough to loan them $2 billion? If you're ready to file bankruptcy prior to, do you think $2 billion to get you through the holidays would really, so anyway, it's, that was a bad loan. And, Toys R Us, they have been closing 1/5 of its, U.S. stores as part of their efforts to emerge from one of the largest ever bankruptcies by a specialty retailer. Creditors decide they can get more from liquidating the assets of the toy seller, the largest in the United States and one of the best known in the world, rather than finding a way to keep the business alive. So it's an interesting way to put it. Their inventory is worth more than the planned closure is coming in months. It's a blow to generations of consumers of hundreds of toy makers that sold products at the chain, including Barbie maker Mattel. There you go.
Barbie
maker Mattel. I figured this one would be right in your backyard. Hasbro, they're a big board game company, and of course you have other large vendors such as Lego. And in Britain, there's 75 Toys R Us shops, which will close within 6 weeks and that'll result in about 3,000 jobs over there in the big UK. And so we have more than 8,000 U.S. retail stores closed in 2007, and that was roughly doubling the average annual store closure in the previous decade. And I think, we're going to see that continue. The reports for store closures in 2018, I think it was like 13,000 or something. I mean, certainly increasing from last year of the 8,000. So, again, if reports were true, I find it hard to believe that the retail sector hasn't impacted somehow, some way. I don't believe your sales clerks. The jobs report this week or last week came out where construction was the biggest gainer in jobs. I can't imagine you have a sales retail clerk that can go into construction. May be wrong. I don't know if that little old lady behind the counter in Toys R Us and J.C. Penney's can go into construction, but hey, what do I know? So, it's a crazy world in the retail, and we'll have to see how that plays out. Yesterday, they announced Larry Kudlow to replace Gary. And I can't even imagine. The only thing I can see him as, he's a big cheerleader for the administration. And I get Kudlow has, worked in the Reagan administration, and I get that Kudlow is, he has a very incredible, education and so forth. Are you all right?
We're having trouble. Skype keeps knocking me off, so Todd's trying to call me. So I'll be here in just a minute.
Well, I hear everything you're doing, so Skype.
Yeah, but I can't hear you.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
Oh, that might be a good thing, but no.
I don't know. But could be interesting. Are you spying on me?
So Larry Kudlow, all through, he denied the Great Recession. Every time, even when the stock market, he denied the recession, and continuously. And so his ability to, in order to help with the economy, he's pretty much a strong dollar believer. And, he thinks the strong dollar is the answer to all of our problems. But if we want to have a good trade, if we want to export items, we can't have a strong dollar. Now, you have to define what one might look to as a strong dollar. Certainly, we're holding around that 89 to 90 level. Certainly, that's much stronger than it was when we went through the Great Recession, but it is certainly weaker than what the peak that we've had at 104. So we had a big dip in the dollar, and I think what they're trying to do is probably they're going to attempt to find an area that the dollar, they'll try to stabilize it in a certain trading range in order to help the exports and so forth. But, Kudlow was not a fan of the tariffs. He did disagree with Trump for that, and but he was a pro-tax reform. He really supported Trump on the tax reform. So it's I don't know. I'm not quite sure. There was a report out. Well, there's this report. Go ahead.
Can you hear me? I was going to say, if Skype will keep me on, we're going to change phones at the break. But Trump was in St. Louis this weekend, or yesterday. I didn't go to St. Louis. But anyway, he was there, and he's talking about phase 2 of the tax plan now to help the middle class and the corporations.
Well, how's that going to work?
I don't know. I don't know. He said. Go
ahead.
Okay, he said we're going for a phase 2, which will help in addition to middle class companies. He was speaking at Boeing Company, plant there in St. Louis. He says it's going to be something that I think will.
Well, there she went. You know what we could do, Beth? We could go take an early break. Why don't we try to do that?
No plan.
You were gone, so why don't we just try, instead of doing this and making all the kind of noises and so forth, maybe Todd can take us to an early break, and we can all reconnect.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more, using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And I didn't know if you'd heard anything about that or not.
I saw a comment that he was talking about the second phase, and it's just like, well, you know what? I don't believe in first phases and second phases. If there was really something there to give, you would have given it in the first phase. And, and again, here you have, we had the federal government, this was out on the 12th, today's the 15th of March, the federal government recorded a budget deficit of $215 billion in February. The Treasury Department on Monday said that the federal deficit was 12.1% higher, 12% higher than a year ago, reflecting in part a drop of $5 billion in individual withholding taxes paid last month compared to a year ago. So now you tell me, when you have a $5 billion, I mean, it's kind of like 1 and 1 equals 2 maybe? Maybe I need to go back and do some Common Core math. I don't know. But it's logical that if you have a $5 billion in this past tax cuts and individual withholding taxes, that's the reason given, because we have such a higher deficit. How can we give more tax cuts?
Well,
tell me, how does that all work?
I don't know how. Or if I did, I'd be president.
For the first 5 months, of the budget this year, the deficit totals $391 billion, and that's an increase of 11.5% from the same period a year ago. The new budget projects this year's deficit will be $873 billion. So you can just if that's an estimate, it projects that you can just say $1 trillion. And that's up 31.3% from last year's imbalance of $665 billion. Over the decade, Trump's budget projects deficits will total $7.1 trillion. That is more than double the $3.2 trillion in deficits over the coming decade that Trump envisioned in the budget he sent to Congress last year. What the heck is Congress doing? It just baffles me. The deficit
Congress
picture
does nothing.
They did absolutely nothing. The deficit picture was darkened in part because of the $1.5 trillion in tax cuts. Okay, now we get out of the administration that I'm going to hear from this. I get that everything's going to pay for themselves by boosting growth. I don't think I've talked to anybody or read anybody that has actually said we're going to have the growth to make that work. But yet we continue to hear that it's going to be the growth that's going to get us out of our problem. I think that the deficits are going to be much worse, and I can't see how a second tier of the tax cuts would be beneficial. So again, I can't even imagine unless you allow more how can it work? The money has to come from somewhere. Now, if they're thinking that the tax, the 10%, the 25% on steel and aluminum, and on the solar panels and washing machines is going to offset the taxes, the tax credits, or the tax reform. Not so sure. You also had, grow ourselves out of a problem. Why don't we go to, let me see if I can find this article real quick with the numbers. The retail sales came out yesterday, and guess what? They weren't very good. Inflation is creeping in. You have the U.S. retail sales fell for a third straight month in February. Households are cutting back on purchases of motor vehicles and other big-ticket items, prompting analysts to downgrade their first quarter economic growth. And what's kind of interesting is, when I was reading today earlier about the breakdown in our trade deficits, one of the biggest things in there are automobiles. We import a lot of automobiles.
Yeah, we do.
So I don't know if you have a cutback on automobiles, if you're going to see a reflection in the trade deficit next. I don't know how that all comes out and so forth. It's common sense that you probably see something, different there. But what is it really from? The tariffs, the taxes, or because people don't have the money to spend anymore? So, and of course, that is part of the trade deficits anyway. But despite signs of cooling in consumer spending, it's still the Federal Reserve is still expected to raise interest rates next week. So that's not going to change. Let's see if there was anything else interested in there. The sustained decline in retail sales is surprising, as consumer confidence is at more than a 17-year high, particularly in the wake of a $15 trillion income tax cut package and labor market that continues to churn out jobs. Yeah, you wouldn't think you'd have retail sales cut back. So are they going to refigure how retail sales are accounted for now so that they can adjust the numbers? That's what they usually do. If the formulas don't work, let's just change them to make them work. And forget what the real numbers are. Forget what's really going on in this country. Let's just create another illusion by changing the way the equation works to report the numbers each month and on an annual basis. It's just no wonder people are confused.
Well, I'm confused, but that's new. That's nothing new. Well, today's the Ides of March, And, I always think about the Ides of March only because when I was expecting my third child, he was due then. He didn't come then. He came 2 weeks and 2 days later, but he was due then. But it says on the calendar, it says on the computer here that the Ides of March, Melody, is a day on the Roman calendar that corresponds with, of course, the 15th of March. But it was marked by several religious observances and was notable for the Romans as a deadline for settling debt. Maybe we should claim the Ides of March and settle a few debts. I don't think we can. But.
Oh, they're going to be settled, but it isn't going to be, it isn't going to, not in a good way. Everybody thinks that, but so, yeah, the numbers don't support the enthusiasm that you hear from the cheerleaders coming from the tax cuts. I wish they did. Hey, I wish.
Well, and the stock market. Everybody's putting so much emphasis on the stock market. When it goes up, when it goes down, when it goes up, when it goes down. Just they go on and on and on. Oh, this is just fantastic. Oh, why did it drop today? Oh, it's like. It does it all the time, but they're just concentrating on that, and I think that's a distraction from the reality of what's really happening.
Consumer confidence at a 17-year high is based on the psychology of the stock market because they relate a high stock market price with a good economy, and it couldn't be anything different. 40%, was it 50% of that money coming back from the repatriation and the tax cuts is all going into buyback their stocks, stock buybacks. It doesn't have anything to do with the economy. It's not going to trickle down to the people. I mean, as long as they can get away with doing what they're doing, do you think they're actually going to help you? Help any of us? Of course not. Larry Kudlow, I saw a big comment from him. Larry Kudlow says, buy the dollar and sell gold. That should tell you right then and there he has a problem. And all he's going to be is a cheerleader. So I guarantee you Kudlow will probably be replaced in a year.
Yeah, they were saying that last night. They didn't really think he was the man that's going to stay in this position.
I mean, he's had issues in his previous years, and he's old. not that, I don't know.
Be careful now. There's several of us that aren't spring chickens.
He's, 76? I mean, sometimes they just need to retire. He needs to go back to being, a commentator. Let him commentate all he wants. But to see him in a position that he's in, the dollar strength is not his position to deal with. That's the Treasury's.
Right.
That's the Treasury, and whether we like the Federal Reserve or not, it's not Larry Kudlow's job to make comments because it's all every time they make a comment, as far as I'm concerned, it's inside trading. Because they do move markets. Anything that they say moves markets. So, yeah, Larry Kudlow, yeah, we've got pressure on gold today because everybody's thinking about a strong dollar. And I thought we'd see a little bit of pressure on gold as we head into next week as they, do the quarter point increase in the Fed funds rate. But gold will rejoin its position and continue to move stronger afterwards. It's just everybody positioning themselves. A lot of these hedge funds and so forth, they can move billions and billions of dollars in the twinkle of an eye. So they can impact any market. They can impact any market, as we lead up to the big announcement. And, then after the announcement, they go back to reality. They make a few cents, they make a few billions and billions of dollars, and they're happy. So that's what it's all about. I don't know how people think they can keep up with the way they trade, and you have to stick to the fundamentals. And there was a pretty good guy on, I can't recall his name, I was listening to very early this morning, and he was some foreigner, and he was talking about the fundamentals. He says, in the world we live today, the only thing you can bet on are the fundamentals. And the only fundamentals that you can bet on today is gold and silver. They are the world's lowest price investment. I mean, there isn't any other investment in this whole wide world that is a buying opportunity like gold and silver. But yet, you've got the paper markets as high as they are, and people won't budge. People won't budge until they lose probably a quarter of their money. Then maybe they'll start inquiring about gold and silver. Then maybe they'll start looking around for a safe haven. But they've come so dependent on Wall Street. And that's what Larry Kudlow is. He is Wall Street to the elite of the Wall Street in Washington. As far as I'm concerned, people talk about the deep state. People talk about I can't say Kudlow's a bad guy, but he's part of the system. And, and I think what I'm gradually seeing is the administration turning into the system. Might not be the swamp, might not be the deep state, but it's still the system. And it's a
system that's not working for the people. It's working for those that are in the system. It infuriates me every time I hear the word, and you said it earlier when we were talking about some of this inside trading. These DC occupiers occupying offices and cutting deals. All these things that we complain about, all these wars that they put on, war on poverty, the war against drugs, all these things that they do, they're making money off of this.
That was another thing. Thank you for refreshing my memory. Larry Kudlow.
You're welcome.
He wanted Bush to go to Iraq war to help Wall Street. He told Bush to go to war with Iraq to help Wall Street. And we talk. I hear deep state. I'm sorry, Washington is deep state. The whole thing is
absolutely,
deep state.
Absolutely. I had an article several years ago now, and it still stands. I wished I could find it. Washington D.C. is the new boom town in America, in the United States of America. Remember when we had the gold rush? Remember when they had the railroads and the cattle and all that, and you had these, you had the big boom towns that all of a sudden became very wealthy and lit up, so to speak. The problem is, back in those days, the boom towns actually produced something. Washington, D.C. does not produce, it extracts.
They steal.
Yeah, that's one way of putting it.
They steal.
They extract, they steal, they rob the American people. I keep saying it's D.C. occupiers occupying offices and cutting deals, and those deals are lining their pockets. They're not securing your liberty, and that is their job, to secure liberty, and that's the farthest thing from their mind.
And, I can't remember if it was this show or my late show, and that really is bad because
I do the same thing.
But with Pompeo, and, I don't think she'll get confirmed, so I don't know who will have the CIA, who will be the CIA, but with Pompeo, and now you have Larry Kudlow, who once told Bush to go to war with Iraq to keep the stock market up, and we know Pompeo doesn't like Iran. We know President Trump doesn't like Iran. They want to eliminate the deal. You have the Saudi crown prince that's visiting Washington, and he's saying the Iran leader is like Hitler. And you have Israel, who's very secure with Kushner being in the position that he's in. I think we're going to be heading to war with something's going to break, and it's not going to be pleasant. And that would be my bet. I think this is where the next situation is going to be, and it's scary. We thought it was scary with North Korea. It's much scarier with Iran. Much.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I think they're the...
remember McCain, when he was running, bomb, 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 Iran. They want to... Remember
very well there for a beach girl.
So I think that's going to be the next center of, when you hear them make these statements, and we know Israel's been bombing Syria, They've been bombing Syria for a year or so. It's not going to be, and I think we're getting closer to something. I mean, that's not out to say I'm predicting, we're going to be in war in a month. But I don't know what happens if we withdraw the agreement with Iran now that we have it. I don't know what happens, when you have pressure coming from Israel and you have pressure from the Saudis and you have pressure from, I don't know, but it's not good. I told someone earlier, I figured we'd definitely be in war by the end of the year, is my projection.
Well, I think you mentioned that here
we're already in war.
Earlier in the week.
We're already in war, so.
Basically, we've never been out of war, have we?
Never been out of war, no.
We still have troops all over the place that are fighting. Well, could be Hollywood's going to save our day. Because George Clooney, he made the flippant remark here last year about running for president. He said, that would be fun. But now he's praising Donald Trump for his North Korea policy. Even as strange as it was, he believes that's what's brought them to, or bringing them to the table where they're going to talk. So he's praising that, and, I thought, that place that's so warm had froze over because he was actually saying something good about the president. But it says in this article that perhaps he is really taking that idea of running for president seriously, so now he's changing his speech as to what's going on in the world. And so he's chiming in on foreign policy. So anyway, that's interesting, don't you think? That ought to be a lot of fun.
Oh, good grief.
George Clooney runs. Clueless Clooney.
Well, I could tell you one thing. Trump would, he'd wipe the floor with Clooney. So
well, isn't Clooney one of them who was involved in the sex scandals with what is his name? I can't think of his name. Weinstein. Thank you. He was involved. His name was brought up in some of that as well.
Was it?
Having known about it and also harassing and such with women himself. So.
I figured the whole thing with Weinstein is he did something to somebody, and this was payback for him. So and it just trickled down to other people, and because nobody even cares about it anymore, and nobody even cares about the $15 million slush fund that was paid for politicians' secrets. Oh, that just irritates me. It's a lousy $15 million. Now, to me, $50 million is a lot of money. To politicians and to wealthy, that's not a lot. That's pocket change.
Oh, yeah.
But I just can't believe
and they think nothing about spending your pocket change.
Oh, I know. And there isn't one, and, even those that where's the Rand Pauls of the world doing an investigation into it? That should be Sessions' job.
Mm-hmm. Sessions
should be looking into it. Forget all this Russian stuff. Who spent the $15 million?
Inquiring minds want to know, and we want it back. I don't just want to know, I want it back. I want them to put it back.
Yes. Well, they could repay us by firing, making them resign and leave office and take their benefits. That's what I'd like. Take their benefits.
They're talking about doing that to this one guy in the FBI.
McCabe.
They're talking about firing him, and he'll lose all his benefits. So I hope they get that done. That'll be it.
It's not going to happen.
Stop saying that. I want something to have hope.
Oh, I always
negative.
Have hope.
I want them all to go to jail. I want to see it. I want to see them all in orange jumpsuits.
Yeah. Oh, I always have hope. You have to, but it's you also have to look at reality, and that's not going to happen.
Well, we haven't seen much of it happen, have we?
So, did you talk yesterday about all the students leaving classes?
No, but I thought we might hit on that today a little bit. No, I got off on some other things yesterday. I don't remember what I talked about yesterday. What did I talk about?
You didn't talk about Barbie. You didn't talk about Barbie.
I didn't talk about Barbie, but I did talk about the trees that you didn't want me to talk about. I ended up running out of time. The trees and the paper and all that. It's kind of a part of Agenda 21 where they go after some things. But anyway, I did want to talk a little bit about that.
Why wouldn't I want you to talk about it?
What's that?
Why wouldn't I want you to talk about it?
Well, I don't know. One day I said I wanted to talk about the trees, and you said, I don't want to talk about trees. And so I put my article to the side, and Beth's a good little girl. Then I brought it back out when you were gone.
there must have been some breaking news or something. But anyway, children in high school.
Maybe. Anyway, the students yesterday with their walkout, it was all supposed to be in memory to memorialize these 17 students that were murdered, but it did not turn out to be anything like a memorial service. It was a rallying for the Democrats to push for more gun control and to blame everything on the NRA, to blame everything on President Donald Trump, to blame everything on the Republicans. And teenagers are very excitable, and teenagers are very impressionable. And the Democrats right now are taking great advantage of that. And I thought what happened yesterday was wrong. If it had been memorial services, why could they have not had, what do they call them? We used to have, we used to all go to the gymnasium, have these meetings, and, somebody would speak or somebody would do something. And, but that's not what they did. They went outside, and the students that didn't want to participate were kind of, put in a corner. And no, you don't have to go out there with all your friends. You're not going to, but it was political. It was not a memorial service. It was political, and I think that was wrong. But I don't know what your opinion was. I wouldn't have wanted my children involved in it.
No, I mean, I think if you wanted to, I agree with you. I think if they wanted to do something, to have a memorial for the lives lost. I think having something nationwide is very commendable. But that wasn't the purpose behind it, and some of them got fairly destructive. Pulling down flags, assaulting kids who had Trump T-shirts on, and that kind of behavior is uncalled for. And I saw an interview of I don't know, was the one teenager that seems to be the speaker of all. And I guess we'll have to talk about him when we come back.
Right. Assembly was the word I was looking for. We used to have assemblies, and they would rally, or they would have some kind of a service or something if something had happened in the school or was going to happen. But that's not what they did. And when you have Pelosi and Sanders and all them rallying the troops, it's not a memorial service. We are going into a break. We've actually stayed online together through this segment. The number to call is 717-300-1218. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann in the morning, 717-300-1218, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
You're listening to Power Talks. We're in the final segment of today's show. Melody, you were looking something up there. What is it you've got there?
I couldn't. I didn't keep it.
She didn't find it.
I didn't keep
we'll have to save that for another day.
But we ended up talking about Richard Simmons.
Yeah, I was talking about Richard Simmons. Everybody remembers him and his exercise and how he went from a heavy-set guy that got picked on to Mr. Energy and healthy. You said it was the Enquirer had written an article about him, claiming he was. Yeah. It was that he was going through sex change surgery and taking this metamorphosis, and it was not true. Nothing was true, and he sued them, and he lost. And I can't remember the phrase that they used, but it wasn't really hate speech that they called him a transgender or that they suggested any of this, and so I think he's going to appeal. But they're claiming then that now he owes for all of the court expenses and lawyer expenses for this newspaper because of the lawsuit. I mean, they slandered this man, and he sues, they win, and now he's got to pay them everything. It's like something's wrong with this picture. But again, it's pushing an agenda, pushing another agenda at us. Well, it's not another agenda, the same agenda. So, if they'd have called him white and heterosexual, I guess that would have been,
Yeah, he actually disappeared into his home for several years. He used to teach a class in California, and one day he just didn't show up. And he wouldn't talk. He didn't talk to anybody. The only person that he allowed in his home, I believe, was his housekeeper, and she didn't say anything. And I mean, it was about a year or two, and totally secluded in his home, and for no rhyme or reason, just that
we know of. I mean, he could have been fighting anything.
But I think those were the rumors. Is that's what he was doing while being inside, was that he was, transitioning, and that's why you didn't see him in public and so forth. And that was the common belief. That's what he was doing. So.
Anyway, it's strange, and I think he's going to appeal, but. It's odd that they can just, it's not right that they can put anything out there about you and then get away with it. So.
Very true. The Enquirer. I remember
the
reading.
Inquiring minds want to know.
I remember the one. I remember my father used to pick it up. I don't know, and I don't think I ever saw him read it. because he'd read books and stuff, but this magazine would just always appear. I don't know how it came into the house, but we weren't allowed to read it, but we'd always kind of sneak it. And I can remember they used to have, they used to have horrible pictures of like car accidents and stuff. It wasn't just and it was people that not in Hollywood or famous people and things like that. It was just just people. And so it has changed over the years. But yeah, they used to show some horrible car accidents and stuff. And that I remember. Yeah.
I never had any of those. But this is the intelligence of these journalists, these so-called reporters, these talking heads that are constantly telling us how things should be, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. He's CNN's Chris Cillizza. Is that how you pronounce his name? Cillizza. He was surprised that Congress must pass a law raising minimum gun buying age before the president can sign it. I guess he just, thinks we're in a dictatorship and the president all he has to do is make a law and sign it. So he doesn't. He needs to go to Google. Somebody should send him on how to make a law, how a law is made. Was that Rock House? What was the name of those cartoons that were on, those little animated things that taught you how to how different things were? Schoolhouse Rock. Schoolhouse Rock. Yeah. Somebody needs to send him Schoolhouse Rock on how a law was made. But anyway, these are the people that keep telling us how things should be and ought to be, and
how to live our lives. Yeah.
And they haven't got a clue. I don't know how they got through school.
Again, they're just puppets. A lot of them are, say what they're told to be, or told. They say what they're told.
Just say. It doesn't matter what they say. They just say stuff. It's like, you can't just sign that on his desk. It has to go through Congress first. Yeah.
What's sad is that a sign that there's just so many executive orders that are being written anymore that's what they think that's all that has to be done is some sort of an executive order, and that's how. And I'm just not talking this administration. I'm talking about
no. That's been going on for a very long time.
Very long time.
Republican and Democrat administrations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so that's how this country is ruled anymore, is by executive orders. An administration comes in, they throw away the ones that won before, they create their own, and the next administration comes in and, we're going to change those, and here's mine.
Which is more proof that Congress does nothing.
They do nothing.
They do nothing that they're supposed to do.
And do you think John Kelly is on his way out?
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not like you. I can't predict. It's scary what's going on, not just because of who he's picking and all that, but it's just the world is so volatile right now. And he didn't cause it. President Donald Trump didn't cause this instability in the world. This has been going on for a long time. But I don't know. I really don't know, Melanie. I don't know who they took, but I was kind of chuckling last night. I said, if John Kelly's on his way out, what about Sebastian Gorka and Steve Bannon? They were out when Kelly came in. So. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's talk about the Veterans Affairs Secretary, David Shulkin. He could be forced out. What I wanted to know is why they keeping Rick Perry. Rick Perry went from Homeland Security to the Energy Secretary, and now they're going to push him into the Veterans Affairs.
Well, except he said he's not interested in that.
Yeah, well,
he vocally came out and said he was not interested in that. So, I don't know. Yeah, there seems to be a lot of shuffling of the deck of cards going on. And I asked the other day when you were on if this new director was going to be, or secretary was going to have to be voted on, and yes, he will. He will have to go through that.
Pompeo. Okay. There's
so,
also
in fact,
talk
he said
about
that in the bottom of that article that I had, and I thought, well, darn, I didn't see that. But yeah, he will will have to be, and of course she will too. And I know you don't think she'll be approved, but I'm not so sure. We'll see.
I mean, we are living in the age of women.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I figured that's why she was appointed anyway. I mean, she's made a
really
career
a
at the CIA, but she does have issues. She's one
in the Democrats' eyes, they're not really a female if you're conservative.
Yeah, but Rand Paul is going to try to keep her from getting that position, but I guess when she testified and she was talking about the waterboarding, I guess she just had this gleeful look and a gleeful statement, and she actually sort of enjoyed it a little too much. I don't know. But there's also Ben Carson. They're going after poor Ben due to a $31,000 dining room set for his office. That was eventually canceled.
Did they cancel it? Well, he didn't approve it, and he should have approved or disapproved it. It should have gone through him. And I didn't think it was for his office exactly. It was for like a meeting room or something. But, yeah, they're going to go after him for that. But what is it we want to know? Where is that, what money?
$15 million. Yeah, go after $31,000.
Why don't we go after that?
Go after 31 grand. But
I'll tell you what, I'll take the dining room set. I need a new one, so I can take the dining room set. Mine's wobbly.
I mean, it's just like, it really is a joke anymore, and it's really sad.
Oh no, I hear music. Do you hear the music?
No, I don't.
Oh, well, I hear our music. It's playing.
Hearing things.
Yeah, I'm not hearing things. Somebody needs to turn her volume up a little bit. Melody, we're out of time.
I hear free.
All right, we're out of time. And we will be back tomorrow, and tomorrow is Friday. Right, Melody?
Yes, it is. Open mic.
She's getting awful quiet. I think she's already done. Tomorrow's Friday. We normally have Open Mic Friday, and 717-300-1218 is the number to call. Melody and Beth Ann, we'll see you tomorrow.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, "The spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ." This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.